What's up, everybody? This is Victory here with another Princess Connect video. Today we're going to be going over June, the new unit that is kind of being silently leaked as we all kind of anticipate her banner coming out. So we're going to talk about whether or not she is worth rolling for. So first we'll get started with the unit stats and abilities. You can kind of see her stats at level 80 with rank 7 and maxed out equipment here on this screen. You can kind of see what she looks like. So she is a tank and also a defense breaker. As far as her skills, she has a physical and magical damage barrier that she can put around herself. She has a HP recovery, which she can restore anyone who has the lowest HP. And then probably the core skill in her set is her armor breaker that lowers the enemy's physical defense when she hits them with it. And that's kind of what defines her niche in this game, is her defense break. It's a really important skill, and we'll talk about it a lot over the course of this video. Finally, her EX skill gives her magical defense as a passive. Okay, so that's what June can do. Like I said, she has pretty good tank kit as well as that very important defense break. The next thing we want to kind of consider when it comes to deciding whether we're going to spend our hard-earned gems on pulling for a unit is, are they limited or not? Now, of course, June is not limited. She is farmable, and we don't have access to the place where you can farm her yet, but that is coming. So if you feel like maybe you don't need her right now, maybe you have plenty of tanks or you have plenty of defense breakers or both already, then you could just wait until she becomes farmable and get her then and save your gems for limited units. I will tell you, we don't know exactly what's going to happen in the future, but in summer in particular, there are several units that are very important. Most of all, by far, a unit called Summer Carol, which is a unit you pretty much have to have if you want to run a magic team at all. And pretty much everyone will need to have a physical team and a magical team for the various content in the game. Okay, so if you are a free-to-play player like me, and you want to be able to get these limited units, then you should really think twice, I would say, about spending a lot of gems on this kind of a banner, because even though June is an effective unit and useful in some important content, she can be farmed. So that's just something to keep in mind. Okay, and when we talk about important in a lot of content, the main place for June, and this is because of her defense break, is the clan battle feature. Okay, so this is a feature that has not been released yet, but if you go to the quest page, you can see the button to enter clan battles, and it is something that we expect to arrive within the next month, maybe 2 months at the maximum. We would expect to see the first clan battle within that time range. And the thing that makes June so good for clan battle, just like if you think about Makoto and how highly desired Makoto is, how people are re-rolling for Makoto, it really comes down to the fact that Makoto has 2 defense breaks in her kit. And what happens is, in clan battle, you're fighting bosses with large HP pools, and so it's going to be a long fight, and they have a significant amount of defense, whether it's magical or physical, whatever your team is attacking. Most people are going to have a physical team that they're attacking the bosses with, and so Makoto is the best physical defense debuffer in the game, right? Because she has those 2 defense breaks. And it's a rare skill. Right now, in Global, you have basically Makoto, you have Mitsuki, who's a 2-star unit, and then you have this new unit, June, who can break defenses, and that is pretty much it. But the defense break makes such a huge impact on your damage per fight that you really need to have at least 1. Really, you want to have 2 on your team. So if you have Makoto, but you don't have Mitsuki, or if you don't have anyone, or if you just have Mitsuki or whatever, you really want to try to pick up June for clan battles once that's something you want to prioritize. Because the defense breaks that she provides will not only allow you to do a lot more damage to the boss, but it also gives you a lot more options in your team building, because the other thing about clan battles is that you make 3 different teams for clan battles. Generally speaking, you're going to make teams of 4, and then you're going to add a guild support member as the 5th slot on the team. And so the more defense breaks, the more critical roles you have like that in your box, the freer you are to make these team comps that can all maximize their own damage output. So that's why June is so important, is because she's one of 3 units in the game right now that has a defense break, and a defense break is something you're going to need on basically every one of your teams in clan battle. Okay, so clan battle, I've been talking a lot about that. Obviously, because of her heal and her barrier, she's going to be pretty good in a lot of content. I mean, her stat line is pretty good as well. If you look at other tanks, which that's what we're going to move to next, is just comparing June to other units that do similar things to what she does. And again, the 2 main roles that she fills is she tanks on the front line and she breaks defense. So we talked already about Makoto and Mitsuki and how they're similar and different. So with June, her skill breaks the defense of whoever she targets with the attack, which I would assume is a straight in front kind of attack. And so she can do that within her attack pattern. So that's what she does. It's a smaller defense break than the other 2 units, Makoto and Mitsuki. She might use it a little bit more often, but it's the smallest one, I think, by about 20 points. Mitsuki has a larger defense break that happens in a field around her, and it has a really visual animation. Like, it's really easy to tell when she's breaking defense because it's like a big circle on the ground, I think is what it looks like. And it lasts for a certain period of time and then goes away. And when it goes away, the defense break goes away as well. So Mitsuki's a little bit different in how she applies her debuff compared to June. Then Makoto, her Union Burst has a large defense break, and then one of her skills also has a smaller defense break. And so that's why she's kind of the best of the best, is because she is applying 2 different defense breaks throughout the fight so that you're always getting that increased damage against the boss. So those are the 3 defense breakers in the game. As you can kind of see, June is, I would say, the weakest of the 3, just in terms of pure defense break potential. So what she would work well as is if you put her on a team with one of the other 2, she can basically back them up and provide additional defense breaking in correspondence with someone else. That's what I would say she's best as when it comes to defense breaking. Obviously, even if all you have is her, she's really going to help, but to maximize your damage, you want her plus somebody else. Okay, so then if you look at the other role that she fills, which is the tank role, we have more tanks than we have defense breakers in the game, but still not a whole lot of really good options. Everybody has access to Priconne, who can heal herself. She can boost her own magical defense. Her Union Break boosts both of her defenses, and that's basically what she does. She's a pretty basic tank, where June, she has a barrier. She has a heal that can heal herself or somebody else, which is really nice and versatile. It always targets whoever's closest to death, which I think is, personally, I think that's the best way to target a heal. And then, of course, she has the defense break, so she adds more utility to a team than Priconne does. At least at this point in Global. I don't really know much about 6-star Priconne, which is a thing far in the future, but as for right now, June provides a little more utility to the team than Priconne. Then you have Miyako, who can heal herself, deal damage. She can make herself invincible for a little bit. I would say Miyako probably... I'm going to go out on a limb and say this because I haven't played with either of them, but I think Miyako is probably a little bit better as a pure tank because of her invincibility. But June is still very sturdy. I think June may have a little bit better base stats than Miyako. And again, June offers the defense break, Miyako doesn't. So if you don't need a defense break, then maybe Miyako is your first choice. But in this game, you have to have multiple teams. And so, for whether you're in Princess Arena or you're in Clan Battle, you kind of are fine with having both because, again, tank is a role that not a lot of characters can fill. So I would say June and Miyako are pretty comparable in terms of their usefulness. Then, of course, finally, you have Nozomi, and Nozomi has a taunt, which is great. She has a attack buff to her allies. She can buff her own defenses. Again, I think she fills a slightly different role than June outside of her tankiness, but she's also one who provides a lot of utility to the team. And so, again, with the tanks, since there's only really 4 of them, June is going to be in your top 3 tanks. And if you think about the places where you need more than one tank, you need 3 tanks because you're building 3 teams. So June stacks up pretty well against other tanks. She doesn't stack up as well against other defense breakers, but again, there are less defense breakers in the game, and you need basically every one of them that you can get. Now, with that being said, let's talk about how long June is going to stay relevant. And again, we don't really know the future. We don't know if the same release schedule is going to be followed or not. We can kind of surmise it will be similar. But in other versions of the game, June has stayed relevant for about 1.5 years after her release, give or take. And I think she's probably still being used even after that. But she's been a premier unit for at least 1 year, more like 1.5 years after her release in the other servers that have been around longer, like China and Japan. And so if you have June now, you will get about 1 year's worth of use out of her before she really starts to feel competition from other units for her niche. Okay, so I would say that 1 year is a pretty long time, given that gacha games are always going to have that power creep. 1 year is a pretty long time for a unit to stay relevant, especially if you can get her without having to go to pity. Which is another thing I want to mention since we're talking about rolling for a banner. As of right now, we do not know 100%, and this is just at the time that I'm recording this, we don't know 100% whether pity is going to be a thing for June. But on other servers, the pity system was introduced with June's banner, and the pity system is if you get 30 10 rolls on the same banner, which is essentially 45,000 gems worth of rolls, you will get the unit that is featured on the banner at a 100% rate. Okay, so I guess the last question as far as whether or not to pull for June is, well, Victory, are you pulling for June? So I'm just going to say yes, and here's why. I'm going to explain my reasoning, and hopefully that will kind of help you to figure it out for your own account, where you're at, your spending level. I am planning to stay free to play. I am in a clan or a guild or whatever you call them that values clan battles very highly. I do not have Makoto or Mitsuki, and my only tank unit is Priconne. So I am kind of the poster boy case study for a free-to-play person who really wants to roll June. I have all of the deficiencies in my box that June can cover for me. She's a tank. I need more tanks. She's a defense break. I don't have any defense breaks. And the other thing about June, or the June banner, is, if I don't pull June, I could still pull Miyako. I could still pull Mitsuki. I could still pull Nozomi. I could still pull Makoto at a pretty low chance. But, I have a lot of kind of good rolls that aren't necessarily June, where, even if I don't get June, maybe I do 3 rolls or whatever, but in those 3 rolls, I pick up Mitsuki and Miyako. Suddenly, I don't need June as much. Even though I didn't pull her, I can stop pulling and still have improved my account, especially for clan battles, quite a bit. And so, yeah. So that is all of the information that hopefully will help you to make your decision on whether or not to pull for June. If you do plan to pull, I wish you the best of luck. Feel free to let me know how your pulls went in the comments section. And please do like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one. It helps me out immensely as a tiny little YouTuber. So thank you all very much, and have a great day.